Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Ba'Hashem, HaKadosh. That belongs to the apostles and the elders of GMSOverdrive144 and True Well. Salutations to the whole elect out there, you Akim, the Zadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the Pre-Shemon, this week's topic is going to be entitled, Learn to Bite Your Tongue. And the inspiration comes from the fact that I was just in a previous ride share, and the passenger, she asked me, do you mind putting your mask over your nose? Now, part of me, and really the emotional part of me, wanted to say, for what? You know, this thing is all bullshit anyways, you know, like part of you wanted to go into it, but I didn't do that. I did what the scriptures immediately told me to do, was I agreed my adversary quickly. You know, first she asked me, do you mind if I make a phone call? So I guess she was implying turn the music down, which I did. And I guess through my tone, she kind of said, okay, maybe I can ask her the next thing, which is put the mask over your nose, because there is a big, how you call it, like, there's a big debate on whether that's even practical or not, right? And so she might think I'm one of those people that's like, might give her shit. Who knows? You know? But I did what the scriptures told me to do. I agreed my adversary quickly. By the way, this was a so-called white woman in Edomite. To my knowledge, you know what I'm saying? To my knowledge, speaking as a man, okay, she had the appearance of an old Edomite. And my spirit didn't prove otherwise. So I'm saying that's an old Edomite, right? But we didn't speak much the entire ride, but I just kept listening to what she told me. I listened to those demands, and then we got on the road on the highway, and then she goes, a cop just came off the ramp, so just make sure you're going, you know, slow down, like make sure you. So in other words, she's implying that I'm a fast driver too, right? So part of me is kind of like, yo, lady, just shut the fuck up and let me drive. But I said, thank you, I appreciate it. Then I proceeded to drive slower. And as we approaching the destination, then she started becoming super friendly with me. Like, yo, we got here quickly. You know, we talked a bit. Talked about her dog. Talked about her friends. Long story short is, she took my phone number down, said, you're an excellent driver. I'll give your business to my friends, you know, off the book stuff. Gave me a nice cash tip. And the point is, if I'd have did my initial reaction of not biting my tongue, I wouldn't have left with a tip. I wouldn't have left with more business, you know. And that goes back to what the scripture says about ruling your spirit, which is very hard to do sometimes, you know, controlling your spirit, controlling how your emotions and shit like that. It should be easy, but it's not. Like, it's simple, but it's not easy. But the scripture says, he that ruleth his spirit is better than he that getteth the city, right? So in that scenario, it was ruling your spirit, it was agreeing with your adversary quickly, it was being wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, which is to be subtle, you know? And the reward was, hey, I got a little bit more bread, you know what I'm saying? And the scriptures also say a soft answer turneth away wrath. Now I'm pretty sure, you know, if I'd have, you know, act differently or whatever, them Edomites could turn into some real Karens, some real, like, you know, some demons could hop on them. You know, you've seen it. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, person watching, but I've seen it and experienced it. Some of the Edomites, they can really, you know, and you see them videos on a lot of the so-called Karens losing it, you know. So instead of getting that and a bad review on my app and all that, I keep my review flawless, man. I keep my thing perfect, and the reason I'm doing that is it always goes back to the scripture, right? Now, to the brothers that might be new to this faith of ours, when you come in as a young king. We did a history lesson going into the chronological order of the prophets and the kings in Israel and how everything tied up. And one of the things we had mentioned was the older king versus the newer kings, right? And throughout the history, so that the newer kings, not just in Israel, but secular history, the different kings of different nations, the younger kings always wanted to go to war, right? The younger kings always wanted to go to war and do all this stuff, but the older kings, they was the one that was trying to be more always diplomatic about things, always try to talk things out and try their best to avoid war, as where the younger men was always trying to prove themselves in a certain way, prove themselves in confrontation, In this thing, we wanna have the mindset of the older kings, and when you come in this thing, you sort of have the mindset initially of a young king. You want to prove everybody that the scriptures say this, say that. You want to battle the nearest so-called Christian or Jehovah's Witness next to you. All right, but as we mature in this truth, we learn that look, it's like choosing your battles wisely. There's a time, they say it in the world, and it's in the scripture where they say, there's a time and place for everything. That's in the world, but that's also in the scriptures. Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, and the 1st verse. All right, there's a time and a purpose for everything under the sun. There's a season for everything. And there's not always a season to be that young, rash, and emotional king. There's a time to bite your tongue. Try your best to be diplomatic, okay? And deal with situations peaceably. Isn't it not written? Isn't that written? Be at peace with all men, right? And what did the Lord say ultimately? Even going into the brotherhood, the Lord said, look, through the Spirit, it's a good thing to suffer wrongfully, right? Meaning, there's times you might even have hard evidence. You're in the clear on the situation. You're in the right in the situation. You might be getting chewed out, dogged out. The Lord is telling you to bite the tongue. You know what I'm saying? Just bite your tongue. Let me work it out. So it applies not only in the world. There's a time and a place to bite your tongue and refrain from being that young rash king, but also in the truth. All right. There's a time and place to just look. That brothers gotta chew you out. All right. If you're just listening, sometimes a man could be telling you something you already know. Look, brother, I know that already. You don't even have to do all that. You just listen. You just bite your tongue and listen. The scriptures refer to the mouth as a small rudder, like the rudder on a ship. How this small little vessel is maneuvering this huge ass craft. All right, a ship. The small rudder is maneuvering the craft. So this small member of the body, all right, its purpose, it's very important to a larger body, right? Because the things that you say could really determine your life, your death. You know what I'm saying? Look at all these chicks that got gunned down in those riots and all that, not the riots, the latest police shootings and all that. And then, people want sympathy for them, but a lot of times when you watch the videos, you're like, man, if you'd have not grabbed this cop's gun or grabbed this taser or used these crazy ass, slurs and all that type of stuff, it's like again, the scriptures say, who could pity the charmer? You're poking at a snake, man. You know what I'm saying? When you're using particular words against those in authority, especially as the scripture says in the Sirach, those that have the ability to take your life. Strive not with a man that has the ability to take your life. Very paraphrasing, man. And I'm gonna close out with this. And how many times, brothers, would have had debates, dealt with people in the world, dealt with brothers, whole types of situation when you look back and say, man, that would have really been better if I just not said shit. See? Hey, so the quick little character building lesson for the brothers. Of course, when I say it, I'm also applying to myself. Learn to bite your tongue. With that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Chak B'dash. But belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim, the Sadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.